Well, today is the fifth part of a six-part series based on the book, The Untethered Soul. It's all about the pursuit of happiness. Now, I had a person come to me a couple of weeks ago in regards to this pursuit of happiness, and she said, is that really an ideal goal to have? To be happy all the time? And I had to explain to her that the happiness we talk about is not a joyous, knee-slapping, rollicking, laughing out loud happiness. That's not it at all. Although some streams of New Age thought would have you believe that the ultimate goal is to reach this pinnacle where we are laughing out loud happy all the time. But that's not it. That's not realistic. The happiness that we're referring to is a deep-seated peace throughout your entire system, through your body, through your mind, your soul. Just a sense of being at peace and having a strong sense of well-being, no matter what's going on in your life. Because every single thing that happens in your life has meaning, everything has purpose, everything counts, everything matters, no matter how miserable it might seem at the time. There's two things that we can do, two very, very simple things, to maintain a constant state of well-being and peace of mind. And the first and probably the most important is just trust. Just trust life. Life is a movement. It is a progressive, evolutionary journey that is taking us someplace to a higher point of good. We need to trust life. Things are going to be okay. And then the other thing is to cooperate with life. When you run into a problem or a challenge, instead of struggling with the problem and fighting it out, cooperate with life to find a solution, to find a movement, to take you out of it, to take you beyond it. Now, everyone in here has been given the gift of life. We're all brilliant people. We have incredible minds. And within our minds, we can think, we can solve problems, we can overcome challenges, we can do whatever seems to hamper our peace of mind. In addition to that, we have imagination. We can create our future. We can imagine things that do not exist at the present time. Incredible attribute. But the imagination runs both ways. It can serve us for the better, or it can torment us. We can take everyday, natural, and normal situations or circumstances and imagine into them all sorts of fear and misery and complaints and disturbances. Now, a good example of this that I discovered took place many, many years ago when I took my first overseas flight from New York City to Milan. It was a night flight. I was on the plane, and I'm not an easy flyer anyway. My mind seems to imagine worst-case scenarios. So I'm on the plane. It's in the middle of the night. All the other passengers are fast asleep. I take out the little pamphlet in the pouch of the chair in front of me, and I start reading it. It's all about the plane, all about how it was made and what it does and the different capacities that it has. And I began to think about my situation. I was 35,000 feet in the air, traveling 10,000 miles an hour over cold, dark, and murky waters in a canister that was put together by factory workers, some of whom I am sure were greatly disgruntled at the time. The person who was in total control of this airplane, I had never met. I knew nothing about him. I didn't know what his credentials were. He was guiding the airplane by gauges. And I began to think, What if something happened? It's bound to happen. This can't work. There's a good chance we're not going to make it. I began to get fidgety. A fearful state of mind came over me. It was concern that bordered right up next to being in panic. I felt it was my duty to shake awake the woman next to me and warn her we might not make it. But I decided to push the call button for the flight attendant instead. So the flight attendant came, and I looked up at her, trying to disguise my fear. And I said, "I need a drink." She said, "I'm sorry, sir, the bar is closed. I can bring you coffee, tea, or milk." I tried to muster up the cutest smile I could. And I looked at the stewardess again, or the flight attendant, and I purred, "Please?" And she said, "No. Is there anything else I can do for you?" I decided to be honest with her. I said, "Well, I am frightened. I'm scared. I am not comfortable at all." She said, "Well, there's nothing to be afraid of." I said, "But what if? What if the pilots get food poisoning and they die? Then what's going to happen? What if all the panels, all the gauges go out? How are they going to know where to go? What if they lose their way in the pitch dark of the night and fly away from the earth? And what if they continue to fly away from the earth to the point where they're way out in outer space and we run out of gas? And what if the plane then plummets down into the cold, murky waters of the ocean? And what if upon impact the doors blow off? And what if there's sharks everywhere? And what if those sharks send out a message to all the other sharks in the area? Dinner's arrived. The stewardess looked at me and said, "I'll be right back with your drink." She brought me a double. But the point that I'm trying to make is we go through life in regular, normal, natural situations and circumstances that are just a part of life, sometimes seem to knock us off balance, and we begin to imagine into them all sorts of different things that don't have the slightest possibility of happening. And it can be little things, or it can be big things. We make up stories in our mind that are disturbing, that are disconcerting, that shake us right down to our very core. And instead of trusting life and cooperating with life, we begin to struggle and battle with life. Whether it's a problem that we're facing, we don't think we can solve it, and we begin to wonder, what if something happens? Or it's another person that happens to disturb us, and we begin to wonder, what if that person could change? Somehow we put ourselves in God's seat and begin to manipulate and move around and negotiate all sorts of different things that are a natural part of the life flow. Life is a process. Life is a progressive movement. Life is an evolutionary movement. It's going someplace, and it's come from someplace, and everything is just fine. See, life is like a puzzle. And every single piece of the puzzle counts. Every piece matters. It is necessary for the big picture. Take out a single piece and life is incomplete. And it's the same thing with our emotions. We try to push away or run away or discard sadness or bouts of anger or misery. But it's all a part of life. Imagine for a moment that you and I decide to put together a puzzle. We go out and we buy a jigsaw puzzle, we put all the pieces on the table, we turn the pieces over so that the picture part is showing. And as we look at it, we discover that there's some pieces we like and there's some pieces we don't like. There's many brilliant red glowing pieces that capture our attention. We like those. So we gather all of those together and we begin to push away some of the other pieces. Some are kind of an ugly, muddy, yucky brown, and some are kind of a drab grays and blacks. So we push those aside and we gather together all the red pieces and we start to fit them together. And when we're done, what we have is just kind of a misshaped blob of red that has no purpose, it has no meaning, and it doesn't display any sort of picture. Well, we think this has been a waste of time. Maybe we should try some of the pieces that we don't like. As we begin to bring in the yucky, muddy brown pieces, and we discover that they fit together very nicely beneath the red. And we discover it's actually the earth. And coming out of the earth are yucky, muddy, brown stems that have thorns on them. And then we can see on top of the thorns that red is actually roses. Wonderful, beautiful roses. And then we bring in the grays and the blacks, the drabby pieces. We begin to put them together, and we discover they go perfectly above the red. And they are storm clouds. And the storm clouds are raining down on the roses. Everything matters, everything counts, everything has meaning, everything has purpose. The picture is not complete without the rain clouds and the earth in order to present the rose. Yet we have a habit or a tendency to push away those things in life that we don't like because we've come to the conclusion that we can be happy when we get what we want. And we're unhappy when we get what we don't want. And so we go through life living that way, wanting this and not wanting that. And when we don't want something, we struggle with it. We work against it. Life becomes the enemy. It's not the situations and circumstances in our lives that upset us and that disturb us. Those are just a natural part of life, no matter what it is. What upsets us and disturbs us is the resistance to them, the battle, the struggle. That's where misery comes about. Those are the two disruptors, the two debilitators of our peace of mind and our sense of well-being. Is first of all judgment, judging that something shouldn't be as it is in the given moment. And then the second thing is resistance to it. We resist what is going on. Now, life is just what it is. Life is a progressive evolutionary movement that's going someplace to a higher good. We all know that life operates on certain rules and principles and spiritual laws. It all began 14 billion years ago. Many of you have heard me tell my evolutionary story before, but I love to tell the story of the Big Bang. It all began there. There was nothing. Then all of a sudden, there was this cosmic dust storm reaching out for hundreds and hundreds of millions of miles. Nothing but dust. And from that, we have all of this. From that, we have temples and shrines and human-made wonders of the world. From that, we have conveniences and pleasures. From that, we have company that we can communicate with and that we can work together to think up new ideas. For 14 billion years, life has been moving along this evolutionary path. It's brought us to this point. And so it really seems obvious to me that life knows what life is doing, and that I don't some of the time. So when I find myself struggling, when I find myself in a outrageous state of fear, when I find myself really resisting what's going on in my life, I have to stop and think, what exactly do I want? Do I want my way? Do I want people to be the way I think they should be? Do I want to control this whole thing? No, not at all. I just want to move into and trust life and cooperate with it to move to higher good. It's really quite simple to just step back and be with life rather than be against it, no matter what is happening. If you're facing a problem or a struggle right now in your life, if you're facing a challenge that just seems too much and you can't overcome it, If you're facing some sort of a disruption in your life that's caused by other people, just trust. It all has meaning. It all has purpose. And then cooperate with life to move you to that place where you have unadulterated peace of mind and a sense of well-being, no matter who's in your life and no matter what is going on. It's going to be okay. Because that's what life is. Life is an okay movement. And sometimes we have to wade through the muck and the mire. Sometimes we have to fall down, stumble, get hurt. Sometimes we have to deal with people that offend us, that hurt our feelings. But that's all part of life. We can remain at peace, in harmony, and maintain our sense of well-being through it all. That's the gift that we've been given. So as you go into meditation, you just think about anything in your life that might be disruptive, any person that might cause you a bit of anger or pain, anything that disrupts that peace. Just step back from it, look at it, say it is what it is, and I trust that life is moving me someplace, and then cooperate with life to find the way. We'll now move into meditation.
And as we prepare now for a time in the silence, I invite you to close your eyes if you haven't already, and take a deep and cleansing breath. And this cleansing breath is not to cleanse you of the emotions or thoughts that you don't like or want to have, but to cleanse you of the resistance you have to what is. In this moment, find within yourself that peace, that underlying deep happiness, that spaciousness that is the essence of your being, in which you can hold the vastness of life. Here within you, you make a grand space for everything that you are feeling right here and right now. If it is sadness, then say within you, I welcome you, sadness. And if it is joy, then say, I welcome you, joy. Whatever life circumstance, whatever emotion, whatever thought, whatever feeling, in the spaciousness of the divine within you, say, I welcome all of you. In this moment, life is perfect. Life is whole. welcome it with non-resistance, and allow all of reality in its glory to be in you. As you have welcomed every part of your life and your being, turn now even deeper within to that place of stillness where everything is and nothing is, and there is only peace, here now, in the silence. And as you bring your attention gently back into the space of this room, I invite you to bring also that sense of inner stillness and spaciousness that you tapped into here in the silence. That as you open your eyes, that as you find yourself in the space of this community and of your life, you bring forth this spaciousness into your everyday life too, so that everything and everyone, every feeling and every thought that you encounter, you can truly say, I welcome all of you here now. And so it is, and amen.